What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for some more content and more rebuild content for you guys, as obviously the Tottenham rebuild is the forefront of the news right now after Ange Postecoglou's press conference. All the journalists are talking about it. So what we're going to have a look at today, we're going to look at the current squad, including all the loan players coming back, and we're going to go and have a look and see what we think we need to go and challenge for the title. That doesn't mean just this summer, but I think this rebuild could take a number of years. So it could be this summer, next summer, the summer after, but we'll see how long we think this because there's a lot of business to do. And we're going to see how long we think it could potentially, and players that could come in and players that we think should be leaving. So let's go and have a look at the current squad. I think there's about over 30 players here, including the players that are coming back. So in goal, we've got Vicario, Forster, and Brandon Austin. There is Alfie Whiteman there as well, but I do think he'll be going at the end of the season when his contract runs out. There is talk about Brandon Austin getting a contract extension, Fraser Forster and Vicario. So I think we can probably leave the goalkeeping position for now.
It's probably, yeah. Vicario's had a good first season. I still think there are some question marks in terms of his ability to accurately play out the back, and obviously his command of his penalty area. Obviously last few months has been a bit of a concern. I think it's been a really positive first season though, and I think he should be a good enough keeper to pursue with.
Yeah. With right backs, we've got Pedro Porro, we've got Emerson Royale, and we've got Jed Spence. Jed Spence, I mean, this has been a disaster signing from the beginning. He is starting to see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel with his loan from Genoa, but I just can't see us taking him on. Emerson Royale, I think it's safe to say that I don't think he's good enough to play in this system. I do think he can find a home and do well, but that leaves us with just one right back.
Yeah, and with Porro, we've seen whenever Porro's been out how we've struggled in that position, and so I think competition for him is definitely going to be on the agenda come this summer or going forward. Or maybe you could find a fullback who could be a bit versatile and play in a few different positions. We've seen obviously in the Liverpool game how Skip came on and played left back and did it to quite good effect. So maybe potentially even a right back who could also play at centre mid or something like that. I think a versatile option for a backup is probably what's in order. But yeah, I think backup to Porro, who I think is a very good right back, is probably what we need.
So we've covered two positions so far, and already we're getting rid of two players. In terms of left back, we've got Udogie, Sessegnon, Reguilon. I mean, Reguilon's had a fairly good loan spell at Brentford, hasn't he? But I just can't see him having a future here at Tottenham. Ryan Sessegnon, I mean, again, another signing that's just been a complete disaster here at Tottenham Hotspur. And Destiny Udogie, nominated for Young Player of the Year. So I guess that's only one player that we're keeping there as well.
Yeah, and I think there's only one player there who's properly fitted to the system, in my opinion. So Udogie's had a fantastic first year. You've got to remember, it's only his first year as well. He's been playing like he's been in the Premier League for many, many years. But another position where we probably need competition for Destiny, because we're very reliant on him. Yet again, similar to Porro, whenever he's been out, it doesn't just it affects the whole back line, it affects the whole team, and that is how crucial these fullback roles are to Ange Postecoglou's system, because of how much work they do. They come inside, they're inverted. So another alternative to Udogie is very, very important. But again, similar to right back, I wouldn't be surprised if we go for a versatile option, so that it gives them the backup option more avenues to maybe get into the team.
Right centre back is probably one of our better stocked areas. We've got Romero and Dragushin, who I think we can happily say or safely say that we are happy with them. Dragushin not really had too many minutes to go by. Tanganga had a good loan spell at Millwall, but he's probably put himself a bit in the market as well to get a transfer. Ashley Phillips, it's hard to know with Ashley Phillips, but we have to judge him after he comes back probably from his next loan spell. So in terms of right centre back, that's probably a position where we don't need to bring in.
Rodon as well.
Yeah, Joe Rodon.
But he's obviously
I kind of put Joe Rodon on the left, but
yeah, well, he's going to be sold either way, and we'll probably get a good fee for him. So I think Romero and Dragushin, obviously Dragushin, we just invested quite a heavy amount, and he's still very young. So I know he's flattered to deceive in a few appearances, albeit had some good stuff to show as well. So got to give him time. Obviously Romero, absolute class player. So I think that position is good for now.
Left centre-back, we've got Mickey van der Ven, Ben Davis and Joe Rodon. Ben Davis, been here for so long, coming up to 10 years. Joe Rodon, like you mentioned, good loan spell at Leeds. So he, again, is probably going to be off, probably go back to Leeds on a transfer, to be fair. Which leaves us with gaps there at left centre-back with only Mickey van der Ven being adequate to stay here for the foreseeable.
Yeah, and given how young he is as well, hopefully he'll be there for a long, long time. But I get the feeling we're going to be looking at a centre back who can also fit in a left back. I think that's the way to go for me in the summer. Someone who's versatile, but definitely we saw what an effect it had when Van der Ven was out as well. Davis came in and did a decent job, but it still affected Tottenham's backline massively when Van der Ven was out of the team. So as much as I like Ben Davis, I do think he needs to go, and I think we need to start with some new blood in that position.
Yeah, so more players out the door. We've covered the defence, and so far we need to get rid of 2, 4, 6, 7 players, and that's just the defence.
Yeah, just the back five.
That's mad. In terms of the number 6 position, we've got Bissouma, Højbjerg and Ollie Skip. Bissouma's obviously not had a great season. He had a great start to the season. Last year, he didn't have a great season either. So the sample size of him having actually good displays in the Tottenham shirt is very few and far between. Højbjerg, we all know about Højbjerg. He's probably going to be leaving at the end of the season. There's question marks about Ollie Skip. Is he good enough to play that role moving forward? So I think we'll give Bissouma the benefit of the doubt at this moment in time, but another poor season next year, then he's got to be one of the ones to go out the door. So I'd like to see us maybe sign someone that comes in and Bissouma plays understudy or competition with him.
Definitely, and I think the big thing you want in the number 6 position, which is a very, very important role when you're looking at top teams around Europe. All of them have a very strong player in that position, a consistent player. So I think that has got to be Tottenham's number one aim, to kind of find a solution for that position. It looked like Bissouma might be at the beginning of the season, but unfortunately it's turned out not to be the case. Højbjerg, we know, doesn't fit the system. Ollie Skip, I don't think is good enough to play at this level of what we want to achieve. So I think that should be one of the priorities. A number 6 who can be really consistent and fits the profile as well. And then if he's rotating Bissouma and there's not pressure on Bissouma to be at number 1, I think maybe you'll see a better performances from him as well. So I think that's a crucial position.
In the number 8 position, we've got Bentancur, Sarr and Tanguy Ndombele. Before you say it, Sim, just don't even try it this time, because Tanguy Ndombele has got to go, obviously, and I think he will be going at the end of the season. Quite amazingly, Tanguy Ndombele has won 2 titles in the last 2 years, 2 league titles with Napoli and now with Galatasaray.
But in trophy winning machine.
Yeah, machine. In terms of Bentancur and Sarr, I guess we're happy with both of them to stay. Bentancur is interesting because he hasn't had a great season with the injuries and everything like that. Since he's come back, we haven't seen him at full flight yet, but we just got to hope and pray that he gets back to those levels next season.
Definitely. We know what he can do. We know what he's capable of. Unfortunately, with ACL injuries, it's very, very difficult to come back and be as good as you were before the injury. We've seen it. How many players we've seen it before? It takes them a while to get back to 100%. And the really annoying thing was he came back and maybe he was looking 100%, and then within 20 minutes he picked up a completely separate injury. So I think that second setback was the big killer rather than the first one, which is unfortunate. So I'm willing to give him time. I obviously know what a good player he is. Before his injury, he was up there with some of the best centre mids in the league the way he was performing. So if he can get back to that level, obviously he's going to be a massive plus for us. Sarr, obviously for the first 3 quarters of the season, has been phenomenal, really consistent. Unfortunately, last month for the couple months or so, hasn't quite been in the same level, but he's still so young, 21 years of age. And if he's got that consistency, at 20, 21, given the longer he goes on, he's going to become a much better player. I'm super excited about what he's going to offer in the future as well. So, yeah, for sure, both of those players, I think, got a lot to offer for us.
In the number 10 position, we've got James Maddison, we've got Giovanni Lo Celso, and we've got potentially Dejan Kulusevski as well. Would you be happy going into next season, or do you think that we can fight for a title, not even just next season, but the season after, with Maddison and a Kulusevski as in the number 10 position?
As long as Maddison can stay fit, I think that's always the issue, isn't it? I think, for me, I don't know about Decky in the 10. I think Decky is more of an 8. I think him in the 10, I don't know if he's like, obviously he's a good attacking player, but I don't know if he's creative enough to be the sole creator in a team like ours. I don't know if he has that a good enough ability, unlike a Maddison, who I do think on his day does. So I think I would probably want another offensive midfielder in there, someone maybe who could also potentially rotate in the 8. But I think Kulusevski, if he's going to have a future in the centre, I think he's going to have to. I think he should be battling out with Sarr and Bentancur for that role rather than Maddison, and have another player battle out with Maddison, in my opinion. So, is he good enough to win the league? I mean, it's hard to say. Probably not. I'll probably want someone else there, because we know Maddison at the moment and throughout his career, you can never fully trust him to stay fit all the time. So probably another one there, I would say.
When you're looking at Kulusevski, is he a bit of an odd one out at the moment in terms of fitting into this system? Because in my opinion, I don't feel like he fits on the right wing for us, maybe in certain games, but not on a consistent basis. He's not a number 10, what you're saying. In the number 8, we do have Bentancur and Sarr, which are probably better options when they're... I mean, Bentancur, when he's fully fit, I think he's a better 8 than Kulusevski. Pape Sarr, he's just going to be getting better and better as the years progress. And it looks as though what's going on in the press is that we are looking at another number 8 to come in. So where does Kulusevski fit in here at the long term?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, to be honest, because he spent most of his career at Tottenham on the right wing, and now it's come to the conclusion that, as much as I do think he can do a job on the right wing, I don't think it's as bad there as people make out. But I also concede that when it comes to what Ange wants in that role, I don't think he's the perfect fit for that position, in terms of hugging the touchline and doing that kind of thing. He likes to come inside, get involved in the play. So I don't know if he's going to be the best fit for that right wing position. Then if you're playing him in central, it's about him proving himself in that position to be better than anyone else. I think he's got enough quality to be up there with to challenge for it. But for me, when I've seen him in the centre, I don't know if I've seen enough just yet to suggest he's going to be our starting player there. So it is an awkward conversation about that at the moment, about where he's starting games. It's about him to show where he fits in. I think the type of player he is, I think he's good enough to play in the centre. I think he's good enough to play on the right-hand side. So he's about if he can adjust himself and show his quality in those positions, where it's whether he's going to be number 1 in either position. But at the moment, if you're asking me which position could he be number 1 in, I'm struggling to tell you.
Yeah, it's true. And he has, apart from those first 6 months in the Spurs shirt, he has been super inconsistent. We've seen great games from him, but we haven't seen that on a consistent basis, in my opinion. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt for now. But if he has another one of those inconsistent years next year, I think it's probably time to get rid.
And that'll be unfortunate. Let's hope he doesn't. What I would say about Decky is, he's even in games where he plays badly, like I still think he offers a lot on the pitch, a lot of things that people don't appreciate. And even when games where he's not, where people accuse him of not doing what he should be doing, he still creates chances and he still does things on the pitch, where there are some players in our team where if they're not on their game, they offer nothing. And I don't think Decky's like that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And that's the midfield. In terms of the left wing, we've got Timo Werner, Heung-min Son, Manuel Solomon, Brian Hill. It just brings up the question, where do we see and where does Ange see Heung-min Son next season in the foreseeable future? Does he see him as that number 9, or does he see him out on the left-hand side? I don't know.
It's a difficult one. Again, I think from what I can gather, from what I've seen this season, it tells me that I think Ange probably sees him more as a number 9, just because where he's been playing him more often than not. Even when a large times when Richarlison's been fit, a lot of the time he's gone for Son on the up front and Richarlison to come on. But when Richarlison's obviously been fit and firing at his best and scoring goals, he has obviously opted for Son on the left. So for me, I just think if we're going to get the best out of Son, he has to be up front, in my opinion. There are obviously going to be games where he's better off on the left and we can use him there. But I just feel like him on the left wing, when he's going to be in one-on-one situations with defenders at his age, where he's asked to stretch defenders, I don't know if he has it in him to be as effective as at chance creating in that position as he used to be. And I think we need him in positions where he's going to score goals. And I think if you have him in a team that's functioning, creating chances, and you have him on the end of those chances, he's going to score loads of goals, despite his deficiencies physically and all these kind of stuff. I just think in the last few weeks, we haven't been functioning as a team, and I think that's really hurt him as well. And he's definitely been hurting us as well. But I think it's more of a team issue than a Son issue, in my opinion. So I think we should be playing him number 9. But I do think as well he can also be an option on the left. And he's against Liverpool, I thought he was brilliant on the left in his last 20 minutes. So clearly he does still have something to give in that position.
Yeah, I guess like for now we can just put him like as a hybrid of the two, left winger and striker, versatility. On the right wing, we've mentioned Kulusevski, we've got Brennan Johnson there. We're going to keep both of them for now. I think Brennan Johnson has shown signs of improvement throughout the season. I do think he's got a big future here at Spurs. I just feel like we need someone for him to really challenge him on that right-hand side.
I think Decky and Johnson offer two different things. So I do kind of like the balance there. I actually don't think that right wing has been that much of an issue for a lot of, in terms of the threat from that side. I think a lot of the time from that side, if Johnson's playing there, he usually can come up with something. And I think when Decky plays there, he does create chances. Obviously, there have been games when they've both been ineffective, but I don't think I have as much worries about that side as I do the left-hand side. So I do kind of like the balance there. And obviously, once Johnson kind of develops a bit more, hopefully he becomes more effective on that side as well. So I do like the two different kind of options we have there. Is it title winning? I mean, it's hard, you know. Right now, if I say yes, I'm going to sound deluded, but I do think they offer two different things.
That's because if you were to say yes, you would be deluded, in my opinion, because I feel like we need players that specifically can play and are suited for the Ange Postecoglou system, and I just don't think Kulusevski is. And
but as he's backup, he offers something else, so it's a different kind of threat.
It is a different kind of threat, but yeah, I do get what you're saying, but I just feel like we need better in that position. Kulusevski, yeah, he's good at chance creation in a certain capacity, but like I said, he's way too inconsistent for the last, ever since we've bought him, apart from those first few months when we got that top 4 against Arsenal. Since then, he's just been way too inconsistent, and I'm willing to give him another year, and maybe the right wing position can wait till that summer to see if Kulusevski can step up. But in my personal opinion, I just don't feel that he is suited to that position. He's not offering exactly what Ange Postecoglou wants.
Yeah, and it's right, he doesn't. But it doesn't mean he can't be good in that position. And you saw, for example, like the Arsenal game, I thought he was brilliant in that position, and he played off the right a lot of the time. And yet, it was a different kind of things he was doing rather than what Ange needs, I guess, for his right winger. But again, he can offer something different, and I think there's something to be said for that, in my opinion. Sometimes Ange wants something like he does with Brennan, attacking his fullback, getting to the byline. But then as well, let's say that's not working, or in just some other games, teams do something different. Then you can bring in a Decky where he's a bit more, he slows it down a bit, he's a bit more patient, and he can unlock the door in a different kind of way. So if you have someone just the same as Brennan and you sub on like for like, then it's not enough variety potentially. So I do like that there's different options there.
And then last but not least, the striking position, we've got Heung-min Son, Richarlison.
We didn't talk about the left, did we?
Oh, sorry, the left. Werner, Son, Solomon, Hill. We did, didn't we?
But we didn't talk about who we wanted out. We didn't talk about Solomon, Werner,
yeah,
Hill.
I mean, they all need to go apart from Son, in my opinion.
I agree. Obviously, Hill definitely.
Solomon, Werner.
Werner obviously has a question mark, permanent or not permanent. I'm siding towards not permanent.
Yeah,
now.
so am I.
I guess depends really how bad the market is in the summer in terms of left wing, because I'm looking at the left wing market at the moment, and it's a difficult market. It's a difficult market. So I understand the temptation of Werner's there 50 million. He can do a job. So should you get him in? I'm thinking I would splash big and go big on someone like an Eze or something like that, which we'll talk about. But yeah, I'm leaning towards no for Werner. Definitely if we're talking about winning the title, definitely no.
Exactly. That is what we're talking about.
That's what we're talking about.
Or not even just winning, just being up there and challenging.
Closing the gap.
Yeah.
Then no. Solomon, jury's definitely out. Let's be honest. I know he's been injured the whole season, so it's very difficult to judge. But for me, based on what I've seen in his career so far, and based on what I've seen in him in a Spurs shirt, I know he had a few decent performances. Obviously, one mostly against Burnley and Sheffield United, who were two relegated.
Well, he's only taken part in
teams.
5 games.
Correct, but when I've seen him against the better teams, I haven't been that impressed. It's only against Burnley and Sheffield United where he did impress me. Again, you're right. Small sample size. I'm being very harsh. I, for one, didn't really want us to sign him on a free in the first place. So, for me, the jury's out. I can't really sit here and say he's definitely not good enough because I don't think we've seen enough of him. But based on what I've seen in his career and add on to that, what I've seen in the small amount I have in the Spurs shirt, nothing suggests to me this is a guy who's going to be a long-term solution there.
Yeah, but forget even like the quality aspect of it. Look at the availability aspect. He's played 5 games at the start of this season. Last year as well, he had his injury problems for Fulham. Could barely get him on the pitch. I think he played a minimal amount of games that season as well. He seems to have a real issue with fitness. So can we afford to keep someone in when we're looking to take our squad and up to the next level? Can we afford to keep someone in that is just never available, really?
Yeah, probably not. Probably not. But the problem is, with all his injuries at the moment, it's going to be tough getting a buy for him. Yeah. But we'll see. Hopefully, maybe a loan with an option to buy or something. If I'm Ange, I'm looking at. First of all, did we sign him before Ange? I can't remember. I don't think did Ange sign him? There was definitely talk about him before Ange came. So I don't know if this is a signing that Ange pointed at.
I think this was just signings like Levy saw the law come out in Ukraine and he was like, how can we take advantage of this, basically? And then looked at Solomon. He was like, he's probably the best option.
Yeah, I would sell him if I could.
And then the striking position, Son, Richarlison, Valise. Valise, I think we could just skip past because he is a young... Well, he's not that young. He's 21, I think. But I do think he's going to get 20. Well, I do think he's going to get another loan spell next year. So I think it's probably only fair to judge him at the end of a loan spell where he actually plays football. Because this loan spell to Sevilla has been disastrous. He hasn't played hardly. So that leaves you with Son and Richarlison. I mean, Richarlison has been fairly good when he stepped in this season, but there are heavy rumours of him leaving. We can get a decent fee for him. So if there is an option to get your money back, I think you probably sell at this point.
First of all, considering how disastrous his first season was, the fact that we're talking about, because after the first season, you're thinking, oh, you're even going to get half the money back for him, because he was only, one Premier League goal. It was atrocious.
Yeah.
But he's turned it around this season, I think it's fair to say. 11 Premier League goals, and as well, he's been injured a lot of the season as well, so it hasn't been in loads of games, maybe about 20 games. So I think he's done well. He's definitely improved on last season. He showed what he's capable of. Do I believe he's a striker to get us to up the table to a title charge? Probably not. I do think he's a striker who can be in a top 4 challenge, but if you're relying on him to bag the goals or be the player that you need quality wise to challenge the top teams, I think the jury's probably out on that one. I don't think he is, to be honest. As much as I like him, I'm a big fan of Richarlison and I was a big advocate of signing him, but what I've seen from him since he's come to Tottenham, I just think quality wise he's just not at that elite level. He's a good player, but he's not an elite player, and I think that's what we need in that position.
Yeah. So that's a hell of a lot of work to do, guys. A hell of a lot of work. So if you look at the squad as it is, what it will be at pre-season without any signings, that's a squad of around 29 players. That's 15 players we want to sell, 14 players we want to keep. 14! That is actually very alarming. So if you look at...
including loan players, is it?
This is including loan players. So if you look at the squad now, you
can only have 3 on the bench.
This is the squad now without all the players that we're keeping. So this is a squad of 14 people. So with this squad of 14 people, that means we have 1 right back in the squad, 1 left back in the squad. So you need to bring in 1 each there. We've got 2 right centre backs, so that position we can leave. Left centre back, we've only got Mickey van der Ven, so we need someone there. In the number 6 position, we need someone there with only Basuma. The number 8, you've got Bentancur and Sarr. In the number 10, you've got Maddison. left wing, you've got Son. Right wing, you've got Kulusevski and Johnson. Striker, you've got Son. So you've got one player for two positions at the moment. So
it's good enough to do it. Come on, Son.
It is a hell
We'll
of
start
a...
every game with 10 men. Just play Son on the left.
It is a hell of a lot of work. So we're going to go and look at each and every one of these individual positions and see what players we can potentially bring in over the next year or two to really improve this squad and get it to where it needs to be. Let's start off with the right back position. I've got three players here. I don't know if you can think of anyone else, but I've got...
Well, there's another player who's just been linked with us, so I'll tell you about him.
We've got Tino Livramento, Geertruida of Feyenoord, and Vanderson of Monaco. Vanderson is a really interesting prospect. He inverts for Monaco to a really high level. He's got a really big future ahead of him. Not sure what kind of price you can get him in. Livramento, I think he's a really good player for Newcastle. Whether they sell him this summer remains to be seen, but they are on the threshold of PSR, so that could be an opportunity for us. And Geertruida, who was actually spotted at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in the North London derby, there is rumours that he could be following Arne's slot to Liverpool. But those are the three players who I think that can come in and provide real competition for Pedro Porro.
And there's one, and Geertruida as well. I think he's spent time in midfield.
And centre-back.
And centre-back. So
he's actually predominantly played at centre-back this season.
But what's cool, because he spent time in midfield, it means he can profile better for what we want as a right-back as well, because of how centrally they play. So I think those are all good options. Obviously, Geertruida's, because maybe he's got because he's versatile, you know, he can fill in potentially at centre back some games, right back, and maybe even centre mid in some games. I like the idea of him because again, I've gone back to this quote, but Pep says the hardest thing when you're managing a squad is keeping everyone happy. And when you have these kind of players who can fill in multiple positions, it really helps the rotation. It helps them find a place in the squad and feel wanted. So I think these kind of players, rather than signing a right back who can only play right back, and then if Porro's fit, it's lucky they can't really get in, then I think they're less likely to be happy. So I like the sound of that. Livramento, I also like the sound of him. Obviously, good player. I don't think Newcastle will sell him because he's only been there a year. But if they do, can play right back and left back as well, so filling in two positions to quite good effect. So I like him. And I do think the inverted role, because he's quite good technically, would actually benefit him. One player that I'm just reading as well, that Alex Crook is suggesting that we're interested in is Kyle Walker-Peters. He says Tottenham are considering re-signing Kyle Walker-Peters from Southampton 4 years after selling him. I mean, he benefits us in a few ways. The fact he can play right back and left back, the fact that he's English as well, and I think technically he's actually quite good. And I think he's really a lot stronger than he was when we sold him, in terms of he was quite a weak player when we sold him. Didn't really, like, he was feeble, he looked small. I think he's not that kind of physical profile anymore. I think he's a lot stronger than he was, and obviously he's had a great season in the Championship with Southampton, and I thought he was good in the Premier League personally. I think we could do a lot worse, to be honest. I'm not suggesting he should be our number one target. I'm just suggesting I don't think it would be a disaster if we did sign him.
You know what? We can do a lot worse, but we could also do a lot better than Kyle Walker-Peters. A lot better, in my opinion. And I think it's going backwards. I also feel like if Kyle Walker-Peters comes in, if Udogie or Porro get injured, it's a massive drop in quality from those two players. And we need to start looking at players that can come in and maybe not be as good as them, but the quality drop-off isn't as big as maybe a Kyle Walker-Peters, in my opinion.
I think you underestimate him. I think you'll think of him as a Championship level player. I don't think he is. I think he's a good player. I think he's probably a top half Premier League player, in my opinion. Whether he's a top 6 player, that's a big question. But I rate him. I think he's underrated, Kyle Walker-Peters. I don't know if we should sign him, but all I'm saying is I think because we had him and we let him go, and you know he played for a Southampton side, he got relegated. I think people suggest that means he's rubbish. I don't think he's rubbish. I think he's a good player, and I'd be intrigued if we were to sign him. I would definitely be intrigued.
I think it would be very underwhelming if we were to sign him. So out of these players, we'll put Kyle Walker-Peters in there just for your sake. But which one of these 4 players will be that player that could take us onto a next level to compete with Pedro Porro? I kind of like your reasoning for Geertruida. I think he's probably the one.
Yeah, I like him as well. I think that would be one I'd be interested in.
So we'll put him in. Left back, we've got a doggy. The three left backs, or the four left backs actually, that I've put in there is Calafiori, Diatra, Anthony Robertson, and Kirkes of Bournemouth, who I've been really impressed with actually. And yeah, I'll probably say Calafiori just because he's one that we can use at left back and left centre back.
That's the one I'm looking at because again, I think versatility is so crucial, and if he can fill in two positions, it keeps him happy. It means he's going to get sufficient game time because he can fill in at left back and fill in at centre back. I think his style of play very much suited to us. So aggressive, really brave on the ball. Plays for a very brave Bologna team as well, who are really ripping up things in Serie A at the moment. And I've been so impressed with that, and I've been impressed with him particularly. He's young, still 21, I think, so really at a good age. So I think he's really bursting on the scene now, Calafiori. So I like them. In terms of like people like Robinson, I like him. Is he a player who would fit the inverted fullback role? I do question that. I think he's definitely one who likes to get to the byline and work on the outside. I guess we did say the same about Udogie, but I haven't seen enough of Robinson's close control and ability into the centre of the pitch to suggest that's a role that could be good for him. Whereas Calafiori, I've seen a bit more from him. Kirkes, I like him as well, also quite young. I think one of the youngest players to play as much as he has for Bournemouth this season, 20 years of age, good quality as well. I'd be quite interested in Kirkes. I think he can develop quite well. So yeah, I think there are good options, but I think Calafiori would be my number one.
If we do bring Calafiori in, that leaves us with Udogie, Calafiori, and Van de Ven to cover two positions. Is that enough?
I think so. Obviously, again, Udogie and Van de Ven both get injuries. All of a sudden, we're saying no, it's not enough. But if we don't get ridiculously unlucky, then I think it is. I think you can have that. That should be like if you look at Man City, they have Gvardiol and Ake who pretty much cover that side of the pitch. I know they've got other players who can play left centre back, like Akanji can fill in there, Diaz can fill in there. So, but it's all versatility. Like in terms of left back and left centre back, it's like Ake and Gvardiol are like their main players there to form those two roles. Those are the two players who've played left back this season. So, if I've got Udogie and Calafiori who can play left back, and then Van de Ven and Calafiori can play centre back. Obviously, maybe ideally you want another one, but then is that other player going to be happy or not? If it's, I guess maybe keep Ben Davies around just in case, but I'm happy to go forward with that.
I do kind of feel like we do need one more just to fully cover ourselves, because we know how unlucky we do get with injuries on a consistent basis. But maybe it's right just to keep Davis around for one more season if we do sign Calafiori, just for that extra bit of cover. Unless you bring someone up from the youth, like a Dorrington or someone like that who can cover, or Ashley Phillips to be part of the squad. I know he's predominantly on the right, but at least it gives us that cover at centre-back.
Yeah, potentially. Depends who feel like they're ready, but yeah. 100%.
So that's that. In the number 6 position, we've only got Bissouma. The players I've picked out is Palhinha, Zubamendi, Luiz from Benfica, João Gomez, and Onana.
I think... I don't know if João Gomez is a 6 personally.
I think he can play all of the roles, to be honest.
I think he can, but I don't know if I don't know if he's the kind of 6 we want. I think he's a really good player. I think he's done so well for Wolves this season. I see him as more as a player, a box-to-box kind of player, than a 6, in my opinion. Onana, I think he's a defensive midfielder, but I don't know if he's got the ability on the ball required to be a top-class 6 that we need, although he's 22, so could learn that. The other players, I think, definitely are much more what we're looking at. Zubamendi, Luiz,
and Palhinha.
Palhinha is obviously Premier League proven. I think he's monstrous, one of the best. From a defensive point of view, he might be one of the best there is in Europe, let alone in the Premier League. I think he's amazing. And he can play. The guy can play. And he plays more of a double pivot role for Fulham than like a base 6. But I think he's got the profile to do it, for sure, from what I've seen from him. And he's a mature player as well, 28 years of age, entering the stage of his career where you feel like he could play that role. So I really think Paulinho could do it, 100%. Zubamendi I really like from Sociedad. I think he's a really good sitter. I think he's one as well. He's been linked to a lot of top clubs. I think he's got real good quality on the ball as well. I like his positional discipline. I think he's really great in that position. Florent and then Luis from Benfica.
Yeah,
he's one I know the least about, but from what I've seen of him as well, a really good player in that position. I don't know off the ball if he's of the level of someone like Paulinho or
he's very young though.
But he is very young. Yes, that's what I gather. So I think in terms of someone ready to come in now, I think probably Paulinho. I think Zubamendi has a bit more longevity, and as well, he's what, 25, so he's still got experience. So maybe I'd go Zubamendi.
Yeah, I mean, what, 25 Zubamendi? There's only 2 years in them.
Paulinho's what, 28 now?
I thought he was 27, but 28, fine. But I think, like, for certainty, you pick Paulinho if you want to know someone that's going to come in straight away and do it. Zubamendi coming into a new league, there's always going to be that question mark, isn't there?
Yeah, but he's been playing La Liga for many years. He's an experienced player, international as well. He's played for Spain, so yeah, I guess there's always a little bit. But
yeah, always. Luis, that Florentino Luis he's a player that does excite me. He's a player that, you know, is supposed to have a very big future ahead of him. Very big. They're touting him out to be one of the future best central mids or best defensive midfielders in world football. So I think if we were to bring him in, that will really excite me. But in terms of one that is going to come in and definitely kind of bridge that gap for you, I think the one certainty is Paulinho, isn't it? Then probably Zubamendi, then Luis.
Yeah.
So which one do you go for?
Problem is Paulinho. How much they were talking about signing him last summer? 70 million. Are we going to spend that on a 28-year-old? I don't. I have got my reservations.
Yeah.
I think we're more likely to do that on a Zubamendi.
Yeah.
So I think Zubamendi is a good shout here. All
right, we'll put Zubamendi in. Zubamendi in the 6. In the 8, well, I've got like a hybrid 8/10. So I've got Gallagher, Gudmundsson, and Gibbs-White.
Gallagher, Gudmundsson, and Gibbs-White.
And Gudmundsson is another interesting one because he could play in the striker, he could play on the wing as well. Very versatile.
Yeah, I think Gallagher, obviously, I think in that position, especially off the ball, we know he's a relentless presser. I think he would be fantastic for Ange's energy and intensity style that we want to implement. I also think he brings that bit more quality than our current central midfielders in that position on the ball, in terms of arriving late in the box, getting on the end of things, having that quality finishing ability, maybe ability to create a chance or something. So obviously Gallagher's a great option. Gibbs-White is one who maybe could battle Maddison a bit more, also can play with Maddison potentially, but more battling Maddison in that number 10 position. A good quality player as well. Also, obviously, we know he's got English, can maybe fill in on the left-hand side occasionally. Gudmundsson is definitely not on a number 8. He's definitely 10 or one of the wing positions, or maybe even up front occasionally as well. So, in terms of, I'm looking for a midfielder, I don't think it'll be Gudmundsson. I think it would probably be between Gibbs-White and Gallagher.
I think I would sway towards Gallagher ahead of Gibbs-White.
I think so as well. I just think he offers that bit more off the ball, and that would really kind of allow Ange to win the ball a lot higher up the pitch. And I feel like at the moment sometimes we lose that energy in the centre, whereas if we had Gallagher there, it would just be a lot harder to play against and play through in that central midfield. And I think the pressing he can take it up a notch a bit, I feel, at the moment. So I probably would side with Gallagher, over Gibbs-White.
So that leaves you across the number 8 and 10 position. That leaves you with Bentancur, Sarr, Gallagher, and Maddison. Is there enough creativity in there? And Kulusevski.
And Decky. Probably not, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So do you need someone else in there as well? Maybe when we get onto the left wingers, the creativity will sort out a little bit more. Because on the left wing, we've only got Son, and that probably means that we could do with even 2 left wingers. maybe a cheaper option, a younger option, and a better option. I've got Eze, Olmo, and Kavisha. And let's say you signed Eze or Olmo, they can both play in the number 10 as well.
Yeah, so, and 100%. So I think that would solve that issue. And those are players who can also fill in when if need be in the centre. So definitely, if we can get someone like that who can also fill in centrally, then I think all of a sudden you're looking at the midfield, you know, like Maddison, Decky, and then Eze or Olmo, and that should be enough.
But then, is that enough on the left wing? Because which one do you sign first of all? Who do you prefer in terms of Eze or Olmo?
Probably Eze. As much as I like Olmo, I think Eze has a little bit more about him.
They both have the injury problems. I think Olmo more than Eze. I think I would side with Eze a little bit more than Olmo, although I think if we were to sign either of them, they would be brilliant signings for us. Kavisha is probably more of an unrealistic one. The money being touted about him last summer was crazy money.
120 million, I think.
But apparently Napoli are going through big money problems this summer, so they could be forced to sell for a bit cheaper.
Still talking about close to 100, I'm assuming. About 80 million maybe, although this season hasn't been as good as last, but he's still been pretty good. Obviously, there's also talk about Nico Williams, but he's on big wages. Are we going to make him our top payer? I struggle to see that. So I don't know. As much as I think he would be my number one target, I just don't see how much viable with him on that wage, if that is true. So the left wing market is a difficult market. Unless there's I think there's a guy from Rennes. They're talking about an 18-year-old winger. Can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's also a decent option, but he's 18. So, you know, are we going to bring in an 18-year-old right now to start? Obviously, Noose was still knocking around, but he failed that medical. So is he an option? The left wing market is difficult to really kind of nail down at the moment. I feel like when you find someone, you just got to make sure you get them over the line, because I don't think our list for that left wing market is going to be extensive. And
there was, obviously, we spoke about Nico Williams so many times, but it has come to light his wages and how much wages he does want, which I think makes it a bit of an unrealistic target for us now. The release clause was low and something that we probably could have afforded, but the guy's on 200 grand a week and apparently he wants 350 grand a week at his next club. So that probably rules us out, doesn't it?
If that is true, then we're not going to give him 350.
Well, it's definitely true he's on 200 grand a week.
Yeah, because apparently Athletic, they pay bigger wages because they don't really spend money, because they only promote from within. So kind of makes sense. But yeah, I mean, Son's on 200 grand a week, so he's our highest paid player. Or was it 250 now? But I think it's at least 200.
Son's on 190, I believe.
Not even 200. So we're never going to come in and he's going to be, because then all of a sudden, as soon as we sign Nico Williams, Son's coming in the next day, isn't he, saying that's what I want, essentially, or more.
So, I mean, if you do sign Eze for the left wing, that leaves you with players that can play in the 10, enough creativity there. But is there enough on the wings when you've got Eze, Son, Kulusevski, Johnson on the right? Is that enough on the wings? I'm not sure. I think you probably need one more that can probably play both on the right and the left.
Yeah, another, I would say, more dribbly wing. Well, Eze is quite a dribbly winger, but I would, yeah. I mean, when you look at those four, I mean, they're all good options, but I don't sit there thinking. I'm just looking at the options of our rivals, and I don't know if it compares at the moment. So I think one more potentially. That could also fill in when Son goes up front, potentially.
Is there anyone you have in mind in terms of a player that can play on the right and the left? For the right wing, I picked out Olise, Sula and Kubo. Sula playing in the Italian league this year at one of the lower teams, Fiorezoni. I think he's doing very well. Kubo playing for Sociedad. I think he's had a really good season there as well. And Olise on the right-hand side, but he can't play a mixture of both.
Kubo and Sule, the reservations I would have with them is just their physicality. They're both very small, like small, short wingers.
Yeah.
And we've just had one in Gil. I know that they're much better than what Gil has shown in on the pitch in their respective leagues. To be fair to them, they've shown a lot more ability in the final third, but it still would be a reservation I would have about them. Maybe that's something that I'm overthinking, but I just look at them and I think they're very small. And I don't know if they'll be eaten up alive in this league or not. Obviously, Olise is absolute class. I love Olise. Maybe if there's a chance we can get Rafinha, who can maybe go on both wings. He's a good option.
I think Rafinha is the one. I do think Rafinha is the one. I never had him down, but seeing because he can play on both wings and his level is fairly high, I think if you have wing options of Rafinha, Johnson, Kulusevski, Eze, and Son, I mean, that is fairly good options, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of variety there as well, which I like.
All right, let's put Rafinha in. Rafinha, and then that leaves us with the striker. We've got Son only. We've got a lot of options for the strike. You got Benjamin Sesko, Guirassy, Mamouche, Tony, Jimenez, Solanke.
Yeah, I don't know about Guirassy, to be honest. I know he's had a really good season, but
it's not just a really good season; it's a monstrous season.
I know, but still, I feel like it's a purple season.
A purple season.
Yeah, I like this guy has not done any. He's 27, and he's had a great season. I don't know if he's. When I watch him play, I know he scores a lot of goals, but I look at him and I just think, I don't know if this is just a massive purple patch or if this is if he's gonna continue.
It's some hell of a purple patch. Have you seen his numbers?
I know. But I still think he's quite an awkward player, Guirassy. So I don't know if this is the guy that we need to be our number 9. I feel like we'll sign him thinking this guy's got unbelievable numbers, then he'll flop. I just got that feeling. 25
goals in 26 games.
Yeah, unbelievable. I'd like Werner had a similar season in Bundesliga. I'm not saying he's not as good as Werner, but
he did get 12 goals last season. I know it's not 25, but it's still like a good amount.
Yeah. In terms of the profile we want, I also think he's very good at running in behind. I don't know how good he is at stuff that we need him to be good at.
I mean, for me, the number 1 option has to be Benjamin Sesko if that is a viable option, if he's willing to come here. I think he ticks every single box that we need. Literally every single box. He's physical, good in the air, good with the ball at his feet. He's quick, he's strong. I mean, I don't know a box that Benjamin Sesko doesn't tick.
And he's only getting better. You look at him, he just looks quality. He does, and he's so young. He's really in a good way physically for a player his age as well. I like him a lot. I do like Solanke. I don't know if he's of the ability to close the gap on the top teams, but I think physically he's a handful. I think clearly he's a good goal scorer. He's good in the air as well. I think quite underrated. I think 18 Premier League goals this season. I think got 12 last season. 25 years of age. I think he's a good player, but I don't know if he should be our number 1. I don't think he should be our number 1. I like Sesko a lot. I get the feeling he's destined for a bigger club at the moment, but I'd love him. I'd love him to come because he came with a big reputation before he joined Leipzig, and I think he knows Leipzig's a stepping stone. Maybe it's a stepping stone to Tottenham. I'd love that to be the case. I think this is his first year, isn't it?
Yeah, and he took a while to actually get used to the Bundesliga. First half of the season, he didn't really score that many goals, but now second half of the season, he's really come alive, and he's showing what he's all about. He's in a strike partnership with Openda, and it's flourishing at the moment. It really is, and they score a hell of amount of goals together, and he seems to be scoring every game at the moment. I love watching him as a player. I think he's got similar traits to Erling Haaland.
That's also
as well.
Actually another thing. He plays up in the front too. Now we haven't seen him.
Yeah, but his profile can play in one. I'm pretty sure of it.
He looks like he's big, he's strong. There's no reason why not. But I guess that's a question mark when we see him in a strike partnership, and he's combining with another striker very near him all the time. I have to see how he is when he's by himself and he has to hold up the play. But I think he can do it. So I like him for sure.
And also, if you have Son and Sesko as your number 9 options, that's 2 very different options, isn't it? And definitely big variety there. So, I mean, is that enough, though? Do we need more than what we've said? Because let's say we sign those players that we have said. So we had 14 players. That's 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 players then with the players that we've signed and the players that we want to get rid of.
That's a 20-man squad, or
yeah.
Probably not. Or it's probably. Well, to be fair, again, I look at Man City. Their squad actually isn't that big. They actually don't have it's not like a really deep squad. It's just players, the backup players are really high quality and they're versatile. That's the difference.
And that's what this gives us.
Yeah, so maybe that is the best way to go.
And then you have that 20-man squad, and then
But where are we short? Like, we seem to have players in each position.
Well, let's go for each position again, because the goalkeeper's fine. Right back, you've got Porro and Geertruida. Geertruida can play defensive midfield, and he can play in the centre-back option as well. Left back, you've got Udogie Calafiori. Right centre-back, you've got Dragusin, Romero, Geertruida. Left centre-back, you've got Van der Ven, Calafiori, Ben Davis, if we're going to keep him around. In the number 6, you've got Bissouma, Zubamendi. In the number 8, you've got Bentancur, Sarr, Gallagher. In the number 10, you've got Maddison, Gallagher, Eze. In the left wing, you've got Son, Eze, Rafinha. Right wing, you've got Rafinha, Johnson, Kulusevski. And up front, you've got Son and Sesko.
I look at Man City, they have a squad of 21. I mean, they've got a few, it says here they've got a few academy players as well. People like Oscar Bob as well coming in. But if I include Bob, that's 21 players. You know, and they also got players like Rico Lewis who come through. So maybe we do need to sprinkle that with a bit of youth. And then you got a good squad.
So in terms of the youth that we can sprinkle in there, I guess you're assuming a Bergvall at some point, a Jamie Donnelly at some point. Who else? A Will Lancashire maybe?
Divine maybe. I don't know.
Alfie Devine, Phillips.
I'm not saying all of them have to be here next season, but maybe 1 or 2 keep around and you can be part of the team. So I think, I mean, you look at that squad, and back in the day, you think you need like 25. But as I say, Man City, who are the benchmark, they only have 21. So is it enough? I say it is.
So you say that squad that we read out there, everyone that we just mentioned with a bit of youth sprinkled in, is that enough to maybe potentially bridge that gap?
Definitely, I think. I look at that squad, I don't see a reason why that can't bridge
I agree.
the gap.
I agree. I think you're adding real quality and real targeted quality as well.
100%.
So, yeah, that's our 2 cents on it. That's how we're going to reshape the squad to make us bridge that gap. But a lot of work to be done. So, Ange Postecoglou, Daniel Levy, Johan Lange, Fabio Paratici, Scott Munn has got a big job on their hands.
June 1st, Werner signs.
Yeah.
That's it.
But let us know, have you targeted anyone else? Let us know in the comment section below. If we do have the squad that we mentioned, do you think that we can bridge that gap? Let us know in the comment section below. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.